Welcome. This is the Daily Dharma. My name is Dina. Thank you for joining. Let's take a moment and sync up our energies, taking a deep breath and releasing all of that energy, opening up the energy for the reading. Today, I wanted to go through just a little bit of the astrology before we get into the cards and some Sabian symbols that we're wanting to step forward for today's reading. And we do have some pre-shuffle messages here as well. So first and foremost, we do have today being about February 7th of 2025. When you get this reading, it may be later on. That's fine. Just take the messages as timeless or speed through the astrology if you don't want to hear about those energies. But I find that they're really interesting. Especially, we've got this full moon coming up on February 12th, and it's got the sun in late Aquarius with Ceres as well as Mercury. And so sun and Mercury together can be a little bit too fast, too quick, too much overstimulation. It can be everything coming up to the surface, everything needing our attention. There's a lot more that can come in there with ego and so on, mistakes and things. When the sun is there, it's like there's a little bit more confidence than clarity. Sometimes it's too quick to pay attention to the necessary details. And so with Ceres there's this motherly, nurturing essence that's trying to work its way through. It's as if to give the impression that Mercury is the child that's trying to, I'll do it myself, but the mother's like, okay, you might want to try, putting your foot in this shoe first before you tie it, kind of hovering and suggesting. But Mercury and the sun are much more intense energies here and more pronounced than we would give credit for Ceres. And so it's almost like the mother is there hovering, but not really interfering in Mercury and Sun activities right now. That being opposite from the Leo moon. Moon in Leo is fiery, emotional, and so it can absolutely be a bit about the toddler type emotional fluctuations, giving some influence over the situation. So I'm sensing that a lot of this has to do currently with the state of the political climate in the US and things like that, but this can be some or many things going on in our personal lives as well that are mirroring some of those energies as we all resolve these things behind the scenes in our own lives. So a couple more things that really stood out to me. We've got Venus now at 5. Well, I'm using the chart from the full moon on the 12th. Venus is at 5 degrees and 6 minutes of Aries, which is interesting because the 2024 March eclipse was in at 5:07, just 1 minute of arc difference. And also in Aries, we have Chiron, which has been there for quite some time right now, going direct at 19 degrees 52 minutes and on the 12th, and that is the degree of the April solar eclipse from last year on 2024, really close, 1929 compared to 1952. So not very many minutes behind each other there either. So I find that is talking about Venus and Chiron having something to do with an ongoing lesson. And with Chiron and Venus, it could do with our finance or our relationships, absolutely. But it's very much about healing our inner self-image and our own sense of not only autonomy, but confidence, courage, and vigor. It's getting getting back into your mojo, back into the swing of something after having this healing arising for our attention. So also we have Uranus also going direct. The only thing, in fact, at the time of the full moon that is in retrograde, not counting the nodes, is Mars. And Mars started in Leo, began the retrograde, and by the time of the full moon, Mars will be at 17 degrees 57 Cancer, still retrograding, but that 17th degree is actually where Mars stations. So that's where it starts really slowing down. And I believe it spends something like, well, over a week, maybe 10 to days to 2 weeks on this 17th degree, just inching its way, just barely making it backwards. And then the 1702 or '05 is where Mars begins to actually move in direct motion again and will start to regain ground. So Mars, the masculine, the motivation, and the assertive tendencies to take power back in our lives and to do and act has been somewhat stifled. So we haven't been able to take some type of action. We've been moving backwards in some type of way to reassess the way forward. And then what I really would like to point out is that group there, Sun, Mercury, and Ceres, there in the end of Aquarius. At the time of this broadcast, Mercury is the furthest one back in the sign of Aquarius, right around the 16th degree right now. And then we've got the Sun right around the 18th degree today. And then Ceres is about the 22nd degree. And then they're going to be going into Sun at 24, Ceres at 25, Mercury at about the 26th degree. And so I thought it was going to be interesting to take a look at the Sabian symbols real quick. And we're just going to look at Aquarius real quick. So it seems that it's talking about the political thing to me, but of course, as I said earlier, take this as it resonates with your particular situation. The 16th degree of Aquarius reads, a big businessman at his desk. And it gives me the vibe of the toddler, entitled toddler playing business, wearing daddy's shoes. Aquarius 17, a watchdog, standing guard, protecting his master and his possessions. And so just a quick interruption here to bring a couple more things forward for the current astrology and how we're going from this date to the full moon. We also have the Mars is in conjunct during this lead up time with Mars and Sun are in conjunct, leading to ego conflicts and hopefully ultimately breakthroughs as people are witnessing things that aren't congruent with what we want to be seen as, such as popularity or favor, or, nobody likes to be disliked, it seems. And then we have Venus has gone from sextile into throughout this pattern with Pluto. And it talks a lot about inner transformation in the sextile. So it's with a little bit of effort, these are the higher things that can come through. And so that inner transformation, that alchemical uprising that's happening during the time of breakthrough is hopefully helping many of us to empower ourselves. Remember, we're talking again about that Venus Chiron in Aries, that breakthrough empowerment and autonomy and understanding what needs to be defended, where the boundary needs to be set. And so the watchdog here, I do feel, is twofold. There are those that are making sure that things such as freedom, respect, and integrity, and some type of protection for the vulnerable is kept intact. So I'm seeing people watching out for things like the Constitution and democracy and the family and so on. But also I'm seeing the watchdog standing guard more so as those loyalists here protecting their master. So having a master would mean that you are not autonomous, correct? And they're protecting the master and the possessions, which really brings in quite a bit of that using one's power to help somebody to maintain their power over others, to maintain a status of empower or of power and control and attainment. Moving into Aquarius 18, a man being unmasked at a masquerade. I have been saying this is quite a charade, and that it seems quite like this impromptu theater act where the whole audience is part of the theater production, but at first they may not know it, like one of those murder mysteries. And so through this high drama, it seems that someone is being shown for their actual beingness. And so I do believe that we're also going to be looking at someone such as Elon in that case. Then we have Aquarius 19, a forest fire finally quenched. So something that's been a dumpster fire perhaps is finally being addressed. So again, this brings me back to those things. It's like with also the sun will be conjunct Mercury just days before the full moon, creating a lot of clarity too, even though we've got those moving too fast to see the details. So it's like the presenting problem and the distractions and the top news dramas have created a obscurity around the clarity. But with Mercury really crossing over the face of the sun, so to speak, I don't know if that's an actual in this case, there's a new awareness of what we're needing to discern for ourselves in this moment. So there's this epiphany idea coming through where it's like, oh, I just need a break for a minute. I'm mentally overwhelmed or fried or something, you know? And moon is actually going to be crossing over the position where Mars is staying at just hours before the eclipse as well. And that's more of this urge to protect and defend. And because Mars is still traveling in retrograde and even in the sign of Cancer, which makes it more emotional and psychic than fiery and unstable and driven, it's more deep reflection, and the growing compassion is motivating us for action, not from anger, but from compassion, from understanding of what is right and true. And that transforms us into Aquarius 20, a large white dove bearing a message. So there will be some information stepping forward, just days or hours even before that full moon and throughout the day. I mean, today on the 7th, we've got a lineup, just a pile up of information coming through. Today is going to be a wild day, and we're not going to see all of the news that happens today until the following few days. It's being unveiled and unmasked bit by bit, degree by degree. The white dove brings this message, moving us to Aquarius 21, a woman disappointed and disillusioned, courageously facing a seemingly empty life. I feel that this may be talking about many people's disappointment and the individual that was said to have lost, Harris here, being disappointed and very apathetic in this way, trying to just get back to business as normal, but really facing a huge despondency here. And many of us that held things like democracy, constitution, and empathy, compassion, and service in this world in high regard may be definitely disillusioned here uh, with this. With all that's going on, just overwhelmed, because I'm not sensing that this being unmasked is necessarily the same as being unseated. Just because one is unmasked just means that, well, now the cat's, so to speak, out of the bag. I guess I can just be myself now and just show you what I'm really up to. Somebody is moving too quickly and they may stumble and fall. Moving this into Aquarius 22, where Ceres is at now, a rug placed on the floor for children to play on. So it does seem that there was something here about that toddler and the awareness and the hovering mother. I think that there is something here to chew on, so to speak, like the feisty toddler that's teething. You give them something to chew on. So these messages, it might be some disappointing messages at first, but it's also this large white dove thing. It may be a message from Harris here coming through, and it's a bit for us to play with and to dig our teeth into and to figure out what that is meaning about everything as it develops. Moving to Aquarius 23, a big trained bear sitting down and waving all its paws. So I would say that Russia is also known as Mother Bear, correct? But it's giving this circus act because it's a trained bear sitting down and waving all its paws. So the trained bear reminds me of the watchdog standing guard to protect his master. So whoever's being unmasked may have links to foreign interests, and they may be sitting down, like seated, right? Squatting, like we have certain individuals taking over various departments and just sitting there and just making chaos of everything, waving around, but it's creating distraction for the big bear to protect its big assets and its interests. So then we have Aquarius 24, the degree of the sun at the full moon. A man turning his back on his possessions teaches deep wisdom from his experience. So somebody here is actually learning some deep messages and knowledge. And to me, I keep getting the messages. I know this won't be popular with many, but there are those calling for on February 28th for us to all have a day where we don't buy anything, we don't go and support any of these big institutions. But why not every day do one small thing? Be more resourceful than throwing something away. Maybe that like plastic container can hold a bunch of nuts and bolts in the garage. You know what I'm saying? Because they come with a nice little lid. So there's ways to reuse things to create other order in our life. So reuse, repurpose, recycle, all these things. It seems like there's an urge to really simplify and purify and to stop supporting big business and big businessmen playing with our lives and countries and laws at their little behind their desks, all safe and secure with their watchdogs. So there's somebody learning a lot of wisdom through their experiences, and doesn't have to be a man. It just seems like humans in general are really going to be moving through this age of Aquarius where it's like, I don't need all this. I don't need all this drama. I don't need all these things. Let's put them to good use. So then 25, the degree where Ceres is moving from, is a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed. It's giving Nemo vibes, if you know that. So it kind of seems, because we're talking about the right wing, we may also be talking about the preparedness for the right versus the left in the political spheres. And so it's a delicate situation. It's very tenuous, but it looks like they have more leverage here, such as having many more seats. 26, a garage man testing a car's battery with a hydrometer. So testing the vehicle's capacity by hydrometer, it gives me some types of testing the public, trying to scrounge for some type of data or information here to be able to threaten and cajole, and also to just test our mettle and our ability to get where we need to go, testing the bones of the Constitution and democracy. And then we have 26 is that garage man, which is, again, Mercury. So Mercury is also that essence of legal discussions, because Mercury is also today facing off with both Mars and Saturn. And so Mars is actions, Saturn is consequence and accountability. And Mercury represents legal discussions and transparency and information sharing, all of the above. And so there's a lot of information and legal discussions about how to hold people accountable and all of the above. 27, the degree that Mercury is moving into, an ancient pottery bowl filled with fresh violets. And then we're moving into a tree felled, sawed to ensure a supply of wood for the winter, to make sure things are taken care of in advance and sustaining and protecting. And then a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis. So there's something very new emerging, and based on the pre-messages here, it looks like some kind of new earth transformed consciousness. And Aquarius 30, moonlit fields, once Babylon, are blooming white. And we do have some white petals here in one of the depictions. So the degree of the moon just before, during, and after the full moon. Let's read from about 22. Let's start at a carrier pigeon fulfilling its mission. So I believe that he's been a tool, and that other people are message bearers and bringing information forward. There are those investigators and agents doing that kind of thing. Leo 23, a bareback rider in a circus displays her dangerous skill. So someone coming in a little bit unprepared perhaps, or somebody who's very fiery and motivated, but doesn't necessarily have that grounded energy. So I'm seeing somebody such as like AOC, or somebody who's really ticked off here, but being very, very controlled and very considered, and playing with some type of fire here. And then moving into the degree of the full moon, totally concentrated upon inner spiritual attainment. A man is sitting in a state of neglect of his body. And so absolutely we need to take care of ourselves, take our vitamin supplements, get our water, get our rest, take care of our vessel, because at this time, if we're concentrating on that spiritual attainment, we need to foster that energy in appropriate ways to be able to be up to the task before us and to be prepared as the others. We cannot attain spiritual enlightenment without being grounded into the body. And so moving into 25, Leo, a large camel crossing a vast and forbidden desert. So there's some new territory coming forward here, and it's unprecedented time and space. But with camel, it's giving us the idea that this is something that we can do. If we have prepared ourselves and hydrated well, then we can make it through the drought. But if we're already parched and we hit the desert, we're not going to last as long. So during the lean times, we need to make sure that we're also making sure everyone else has what they need for this time if we are able to. So let's get into the pre-messages. I took a long time with the astrology. I hope you don't mind. In the code card deck, I got 14 Earth, Nurture Nature. And this absolutely seems to talk about that mothering influence. And we can also play that series role to the toddlers in our lives that are not aware of the consequences. And we can hover and not get mad at the toddler for not understanding how to put on the shoe. So, yeah, remaining composed and graceful and aware so that we can take the next right step in the dance. And we have synergy here. So moving in synergy with the earth and with the flow, trusting the process to be unveiled. I'm also seeing delight, healing, solar plexus chakra with radiant illumination under there. So it's taking back our power in some way of creative solution finding. And under the goddess deck here, this mixed deck, I split the deck and separately shuffled them and came out with 14 Beauty of Ib came out with Blossoms of the Sky Dancer, number 3 underneath. And I'm seeing Izem 28 there. Oh, interesting. I've got to show you this in Turquoise Lotus Mother. Look at the abdomen of this individual with the orange slice in there. Make sure you're taking care of your body. Absolutely. Because we don't want to have anybody getting sick, and we don't want to expose ourselves unnecessarily to anything that could upset our digestion. It's also giving this whole foods, real foods versus just grab and go or carbs or whatever your go-to is. Making sure that we get enough of it, that it's actually nourishing and being processed and assimilated. And same thing with our experiences in waking life. How we're integrating that can really have something to do with the solar plexus, whether we get heartburn, indigestion, or the sacral chakra, whether we've got digestive, especially lower digestive issues, or even the root where we're not actually absorbing all the nutrients. So the chakra health is related to the nourishment. So again, under the deck, we've got this Blossoms of the Sky Dancer, talking about the way that we nimbly dance through life and how we're able to conjure through the use of our creative energy. And then with this Beauty of Ib, it's really talking quite a bit about the growth cycle. So this is the one where she's holding this pile of flower petals to her sacral chakra. It's giving some type of womb clearing, womb healing, some type of energetic healing to the sacral region, which, okay, men and women have this creation capacity, but to different extents. And we're also seeing all of this garden-like energy around her, surrounded with some new growing bamboo. Bamboo takes a long time to gain its root and its structure, but then it shoots up in crazy quick timing here. And so I feel like some kind of movement, it's maybe painfully slow up until things start to really be unmasked, and then things are going to get even crazier, if you can believe it, before something gets resolved. But with this, it's talking also about the way that Ma'at is in Egyptian lore, giving us that final spiritual initiation into the other realms by weighing our heart against the weight of a feather. And if it's heavy, it means we've still got something heavy on our heart. And if it's lighter than that, then we have accomplished some type of resolution, because we're, again, talking about integration of autonomy and our self-worth and our courage and our fearlessness and our protective nature. And so with this, it's talking also about the weight of our heart can be somewhat synonymous with our willingness and ability to actually use our passion and our creative energy and the development of self to really mean something, to stand for something unique. And that's reminding me, under this deck, we have enjoy your extraordinary uniqueness. You didn't come here to be everybody else, and we know this. And it says right below that there's no one more loved nor more lovable than you. And so with this weighing of the heart, it has something to do with our living our best life and giving ourselves the permission to do that, but also standing up in our power and not being held down and playing small in our lives. When we let our beauty come forward, that's where the sweet spot is at. And then under the deck here we have immortal treasures. Exactly. You were born and brought here in this time and space with some beautiful gifts. And maybe yours are humble. Maybe yours are overlooked by many. But don't be one of those many that overlook your beauty, your grace, and the power and autonomy that you came here to bring forth. Whether it's your voice, because we've also got this showing this sound, the fierce flute. It's definitely some type of declaration, some judgment, some information that's being given. You may be that white dove that's bearing a message for all of the individuals desperately needing a message of hope and transcendence and faith in spirit, in time and space, in the highest possible good. And with the fierce flute, it really talks that your vibrational resonance is at a very high pitch. And so you can break through the overwhelm. You can break through the apathy. You're the one that can break through the mass hypnosis of other individuals. And it's telling us also to honor Elijah Eligua at the southeast. So I don't know what southeast in the US, of course, I would say like the Gulf of Mexico and that whole region, moving up the Atlantic coast a bit, that region, and moving upwards to like maybe Tennessee, Kentucky area, that whole square there. There's something being talked about there, and I would love to close just with a little message there. I don't know if we will have time, however. So I hope that you guys got a good message that was meaningful for you. Please do consider engaging with the channel if you got something from here. And let's see. I think we're going to run out of time here. This is a really big book. Yes, it's talking about the shamanic call to the soul that can be masked within a crisis, requiring evolution, a problem to be solved creatively, all at once. Be in the midst of the muddle with faith that although you may not yet see how, there is some greater benefit that will eventually manifest and ensure your soul's true progress towards its divine destiny. Let go of trying to figure it all out, and instead tune into what feels true for the current choice point before you. One step at a time is all that's needed, just like we said. Love you guys so very much. Thank you so much for being with the channel and helping us grow. And until next time,